Yo, 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 it's your boy Casual Rail with the Silent A podcast. And man, we're back with another one. And a quick one at that. Yo, hit that like button. It's free, gets eyes on the show and helps us grow. And more importantly, subscribe if you got that time. We appreciate that love. And for this, let's get into it. The most ducked fighters in boxing today. In our opinion now. The most ducked fighters in boxing today. Opetai, Joseph Parker, and David Benavidez, the Bandera Roja. Now, I'm sure there's more fighters out there, but this is just the three we wanted to focus on today. I'm sure there's other fighters that many can call on and say, hey, this fighter's getting ducked, this one's getting the run around, this one's getting messed over by the business of boxing. But for today, we're going to focus on these three names because these three men are in positions, or should be in positions, where they could either have undisputed, unified, or made big legacy fights already in their respective divisions. Cruiserweight, now light heavyweight for the likes of David Benavidez, but he was at 168 pounds. We're getting the details for him. And then you had Joseph Parker, obviously in the heavyweight division. Why are we saying this, men, right? Why are they being ducked? Are they truly being ducked? And hit that comment section. Let us know. Are these three men really being ducked in the sport of boxing? And are they the most ducked men right now? Now let's get into it. Opetai. Let's start with him because I think he's a little bit on the lesser end of being ducked when you compare it to the other two fighters. Gilberto Ramirez. Both were available at the beginning of this year, right? They had decent scraps, good fights. Gilberto showing some levels and changes. You know, he's linked up with Malik Scott. He's looking good in the cruiserweight division. Picked him up 2 belts. Got in good position. Calling out Ja. Ja was supposed to be next. Ja's calling him. He wants him next. He's clearly ready to go. And then we get down and negotiations fall apart quick to the point that Ja has to, forced to take a keep busy fight. No disrespect to Claudio, who he's taking on in June, but he's got to, keep busy fight. To only turn around to find out Gilberto Ramirez is now on the, Jake Paul Chavez undercard July. It's starting to look like, Gilberto, a.k.a. Zurdo, picked the business of boxing, the bigger check right now, to not go for the glory unification bout with the available Opetai. He was already working this, already getting this, back in, as I believe he's going to be taking on, let me mess my man's name up. He's been around for a round. I believe it's Dr. Torres or something like that. I can never say his name for whatever reason. But anyways, signed, sealed, delivered for the Chavez fight. July. Chose the money route. And I can't blame him. It's his pockets. He's got to take care of his family. But it's clear he chose the money route than taking on Opetai, who, in my opinion, is still a money fight as well. And I think would have been even a bigger fight. But don't get me wrong. The Jake Paul, bag is something real. Now Josh taking on a keep busy fight. Hopefully they can get this squared away by the end of this year, 2025, to get that scrap going. Because if not, I will lean in the favor of Gilberto starting to avoid the likes of Opetai. Joseph Parker, one that we all know and love, clearly has been ducked. And that's why I put Ja first to go, get this thing rolling. Because the next two fighters have clearly been ducked, and I think there's nothing to argue about with the duckery that's been going on for these two guys. Joseph Parker has been ducked by the likes of Daniel Dynamite Dubois. And to me, he's getting ducked by the business of boxing. For whatever reason. What has happened in his route and his rebuild and resurgence of his career is amazing. But the roadblocks they have thrown out in front of him is clearly showing, the business of boxing, for whatever reason, wants to see him lose. You've got the likes of the Deontay Wilder was thrown out to him early. Wilder's going to take that fight. He's a real warrior, real man. But the person that showed up in that ring against Joseph Parker was not the Deontay Bronze Bomber Wilder that we all know. Then there was Zilly Zhang Bang, got thrown in there, roadblock, another warrior, another fighter who's also was on the rebuild himself, trying to get things going after, trying to get some big names and big fights lined up for him. And Joseph Parker was supposed to be that stepping stone. Business of boxing put him, Joseph Parker, out there to lose. Now he beat these two heavy punchers, two feared men, two feared punchers back to back to get lined up with finally Daniel Dynamite Dubois to get his scrap, to get a chance at a title, finally get his second shot at a title. But the business of boxing saw what happened to the likes of Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder, was outboxed, and then Zilly Zhang, who was out hustled, out muscled in their scrap. And I don't think they really wanted that to happen for Daniel Dynamite Dubois, who they perceived the bigger fight to be with Usyk and getting that rematch going. All the steps led to that, as Dubois got in the ring with Usyk after the Tyson Fury fight, even when he had the fight already signed, sealed, delivered with Joseph Parker, and then magically gets sick 2 days prior for the likes of the Parker fight. Well, who they bring in? Mark Bakole, straight off the street, who just took the bag, took the money. He's willing to fight regardless. Another roadblock, another tricky puncher who they thought maybe can upset the apple cart of Joseph Parker, and then we can say, that fight was never supposed to happen. Fast forward, Daniel Dynamite Dubois just signs a fight with Usyk July 19, 2025, with no mentions of Joseph Parker even getting his shot again. Nasty work. And even Usyk on that hand, who was mandated, by the WBO to take on the likes of who? Joseph Parker, chose the business of boxing. Now, I'm not going to call Usyk a duck. I hate to do that because he's a true fighting man, but I believe the suits behind him led him to the business route versus taking the honorable route of, standing up with that mandatory. And they greased the skids, WBO, IBF, everybody's good now, and they're going to let this fight go down. It's going to be undisputed July 19, 2025. Now let's get to the last person. We all know who this back and forth is with. David Benavidez, the Vendetta Roja, has been ducked for the likes of Canelo Alvarez for years. There is nothing we can argue about that. The first two, we can go back and forth and say, yeah, there's some circumstances, situations, with them. Are they really being ducked or not? And again, or not, drop your comment in the section. Let us know what you think. But there is no mistaking Canelo Alvarez has ducked David Benavidez. And I know we're going to get some back and forth on this, but there's really no excuse to why the Canelo fight has never happened. David Benavidez was never in the contract for Canelo to begin with when they did the PBC. In fact, he almost pulled out of the deal with the PBC with a 3-fight deal when they had David Benavidez in there. So they reworked it, re-rigged it, and it was supposed to be the likes of who? All smaller fighters. Jermell Charlo was always in there. Actually, Jamal Charlo was supposed to be the second one. He was supposed to beat both twins. Errol Spence was rumored to, kind of be in that mix. Obviously, he had lost to Terrence Bud Crawford. So then they re-rigged the deal, and then you ended up with who? Munguia and Berlanga, especially after the big Charlo, Jamal Charlo, had all his issues. All those three fighters, Berlanga, Munguia, and I can argue with Jermell, maybe had higher accolades, but still he's a smaller fighter being pulled up. Definitely the last two, there's no excuse that David Benavidez shouldn't have got that fight. He's in your division already. He's, was the former champ in the 168-pound division, fighting the names in that division, had already just beaten the likes of who? Caleb Plant and Boo Boo Andrade. Clearly had earned his shot. He was trying to, take on the big names while Canelo was busy. And Canelo and company still says he hasn't done enough, hasn't earned nothing, ain't seen nothing. And to me, that is just straight disrespect and lies. If you don't want to fight the man, just say it. If a duck is a duck. Canelo's big enough. He's the face of boxing. He's the name. He can fight whoever he wants to. But a duck is a duck, especially when the man's been in your division this entire time. And now he's moved up to the light heavyweight division, because you didn't want to fight him, and it's clear. Now I'm pretty sure the next excuse is he's too big. And I think that's really always been the excuse. I think they see David Benavidez as too big, too durable, throws a lot of punches, has good stamina. And to me, it's a fight that Canelo doesn't want to do at this stage in his career. And that's a fight of attrition, a war of attrition. It's going to be a fatigue type war. David Benavidez ain't going to back down. He's going to keep throwing hands. Whoever's got the bigger gas tank, that's who's going to win this fight. It's going to be a true all-out war and fight. And I don't think Canelo really wants to do that right now. Especially after you saw how the David Morrell fight went down. David Morrell was putting hands on David Benavidez and had a good shot in there. I mean, they both were punching and going, and you saw how that went. And Morrell's a good puncher. It shows the heart and the chin of David Benavidez. That's someone you have to really just give it your all and put down in that ring, and Canelo doesn't want to do that right now. These three men ducked, moved to the side, and honestly, at the point, it's starting to get a little bit disrespectful for these good fighters. I can understand if it's just a guy who's riding off his name. But you got the likes of David Benavidez, who's really been putting in some hell of a fights, especially on the PBC, fighting the names, fighting who he can get in there with. Honestly, there's some fights I wouldn't have recommended him to fight if he was really trying to get the big money fight, but he went ahead and carved his own lane. Joseph Parker definitely has fought whoever they put in his way and put him down. Earned his fight, earned his shot. Has been respectful at every turn. Hardly ever talks back. Hardly ever talks down on another fighter. And then Opetai, consistent warrior, consistent fighter, consistent pressure puncher, consistent knockout guy who's going to bring you excitement, can't even get the one big remaining cruiserweight fight in his division to unify because they want to go on the undercard of a YouTuber turned fighter for a bag. Currently the most ducked fighters, high profiled ducked fighters at that, in my opinion. We talked too long on this, man. Hit that like button, comment below. Let us know what you think. Are these fighters being ducked? What can we do to rectify this? Can they really get their shots? Will they get their unification shots? Will they get their second time coming in the likes of Joseph Parker? Will David Benavidez ever get his hands on Canelo Alvarez? Or does he need to go ahead and just try to undispute in the light heavyweight division? Anyways, your boy Casual Rail, as always, like, comment, and subscribe if you got that time, man. Till next time, peace.